Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone for
Hare Krishna
another
Prabhuji.
session on Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Okay, today we have a pretty interesting detail. So we'll get into the topic shortly. So before that, let's do the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं Okay, Hare Krishna. Again, welcome everyone. Today happens to be the most auspicious Rath Yatra ceremony at Sri Jagannath Mandir. So, if time permits, we'll conclude with a few details on Rath Yatra, and hopefully, we'll see most of you here in the temple today evening. So, we are in Canto 3, the status quo. We are in chapter 4. We are going to start chapter 4 today, where Vidura approaches Maitreya. So, before we go in there, let's do a quick recap of what we saw in the previous chapter, right? The third chapter highlights. So, this chapter was talking about Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavana. So, we saw that. So before that, we had seen Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Then we came down to Krishna's pastimes outside Vrindavan. Where did he get educated? Avanti Desh, how he respected his guru Sandipani Muni. A few activities there. Then about Krishna's various marriages. Then, of course, the most important battle of Kurukshetra that happened, and then Krishna's activities in Dwaraka. There was a very nice shloka which told that we can understand Krishna's activities only when we are devotees of Krishna. Otherwise, it looked pretty mundane from an outsider perspective. Then, of course, towards the end of the previous chapter, we saw how Krishna acted as a perfect or an ideal householder. He showed his attachment towards his family and detachment at the right time. So that's also a very important lesson that we saw. And finally, what did we do? We concluded where the Yadus and the Bhojas, all of them gathered together along with Krishna, who moved to this place of Prabhasa. And at Prabhasa, they are doing the different ritualistic activities and they're giving Brahmanas in charity. So that's where we ended, correct? So I hope most of you remember where we did and how we came to that kind of a setting. So the scene is set for this chapter. Here, if you see, the name of the chapter is Vidura approaches Maitreya. So far, Vidura has having his conversations with Uddhava, correct? Now, where does Maitreya Muni come in? What is his glory? Why is he called the Mahabhagavata? What happens? The first half of that we will be seeing today, where Maitreya is introduced in his position. Okay, so that's what we'll try to cover. There are 36 shlokas in this chapter. As we go along, we'll try to either finish 18 or we'll finish 15, depending on how the time goes, wherein there is going to be this conversation between the Lord, Uddhava, and Maitreya Muni. So there is this instruction that's going to go on. Okay, so we'll start with the first shloka. So if you have any questions, you can put it on the chat log. We'll see if time permits, we can answer those. There are a few nice lessons because this is in a story form today. It's got its own philosophical importance. We'll try to cover some of Srila Prabhupada's purpose as well. So text one. Uddhava Vacha Atat Tetat Anugnata Bhukva Pitva Javarunim Taya Vibhramsita Gnana Duruktair Marma Pashprusheho. Translation and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Thereafter, all of them, the descendants of Vrishni and Bhoja, being permitted by the Brahmanas, partook of the remnants of the prasada and also drank liquor made of rice. By drinking they all became delirious and bereft of knowledge. They touched the cores of each other's hearts with harsh words. Okay, we'll read one purport. So after this, we'll read the translations, and wherever important purports are there, we'll touch upon them. The ceremonies, when Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are sumptuously fed, the host partakes of the remnants of foodstuff after the guest has given permission. So the descendants of Rishni and Bhoja formally took permission from the Brahmanas and ate the prepared foodstuff. Kshatriyas are permitted to drink at certain occasions, so they all drank a kind of light liquor made of rice. By such drinking, they became delirious and bereft of sense, so much so that they forgot their relationship with one another and used harsh words, which touched the core of each other's heart. Drinking is so harmful that even such a highly cultured family becomes affected by intoxication and can forget themselves in a drunken state. The descendants of Rishni and Bhoja were not expected to forget themselves in this way, but by the will of the Supreme, it happened, and thus they became harsh towards one another. Very important situation, right? So let's quickly do the invocation and continue. Oh, Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakantamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So very interesting situation. So what did we just say that in chapter 3 we saw the Yadus and the Bhojas, the kings, the princess and the prince, the grandchildren, they all went to this place of Prabhasa. So even today there is this place of Prabhasa that's there in Gujarat near Somnath, near the Somnathji temple. In fact, it's not very far if devotees have gone there. So at Prabhasa there's a wonderful temple where Krishna is lying down in a particular form. You'll actually see that in a four-handed form under a big banyan tree. There's a temple around it. So in that place of Pravasha, on the bank of the sea, these people have all served the Brahmanas. They have given a lot of charity. They have done ritualistic activities. And suddenly you see what happened is that after that big event, they celebrated among themselves. Firstly, they took permission to take partake of the remnants. Okay, social culture, we actually take the leftovers of senior acharyas or with their permission, right? So that's what they did. They took permission, very important word, and then they take the prasadam. After that, uh, like Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, they take light liquor made out of rice. Okay, he says the Kshatriyas were allowed to do that at some social occasions. It's today, social drinking has become very common, especially in places like Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi. Pretty corrupted way we call ourselves. We There are people calling themselves as social occasional drinkers, but intoxication has its own effect. So Srila Prabhupada mentions here that look, even at such a place when they were in a high austere kind of a situation, doing a lot of pious activities, and then intoxication comes in and suddenly the whole situation is changed. Okay, the ill effects of such social drinking. Okay, that's what Srila Prabhupada mentions here. What happened after that is they started using harsh words against each other. Okay, in many languages, especially Tamil, there is this known saying that you can hurt someone. I mean, if you burn someone, the wound stays for some days, but if you burn someone with words, it has a longer, deeper effect, right? Uh, Navinal suttavadu aradi. That's what they say. I mean, the burning that happens through the tongue can cause a lot of ill effect. So here, when the harsh words were used against each other, that creates a big hollow, big gap between them. Now, this is a very interesting kind of a situation. Like, who are these people? These are highly qualified people who are there, and a little bit of liquor can cause so much of an effect. We will continue to see that in the rest of the shloka. So we'll move on. So the next shloka, Tesha Maireya Doshena Vis, Visam Krita Chetasam Nimlochati Ravav Asid Venu Nam Ivamardanam. As by the friction of bamboos, destruction takes place, so also at sunset, by the interaction of the falls of intoxication, all their minds became unbalanced and destruction took place. So, firstly, it's important to know what is the time, right? So, it is now the evening. The mode of ignorance has taken its place, and the mind became imbalanced with the drinking process. Okay, so very nice analogy that Srila Prabhupada also mentions, which is there in the shloka as well, saying that, see, the forest fire does not have someone actually going and putting fire, so no one lights up. There's no human effort there. What happens? It's the rubbing the bamboos, and then all these things takes place by what? By the will of the Supreme. See, in the previous uh, shloka also there was this word that used tad anugnata. Tad anugnata, if you know, it is they partook of the prasadam or the remnants or whatever by being permitted. That anugnata is taking permission. Similarly here also, by taking permission or by the will of the Supreme Lord, all this is happening. So that is again indicated here, right? So the Lord wanted them to be destroyed, and thus they obeyed his order as indicated here. Okay. Again, the situation is pretty interesting, right? So firstly, intoxication causes unbalanced mind. We are very clear with that. And of course, the analogy of the forest fire, where the rubbing of the bamboos, the friction causes fire. What is the friction here? The harsh words used against each other, that's causing the friction. And what's happening? There is going to be fire. Now, just taking a step back, so how could these eternal associates of the Lord? So we have already seen that the entire the Vrishni clan, the Yadus, the Vrishnis, the Bhojas, these were all associates of the Lord. Most of these are eternal associates of the Lord. How can these people be vanquished in the presence of the Lord? I mean, does it really make sense that the Lord who promises in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter to Arjuna says, the Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati, declare it boldly, my dear Arjuna, that my devotee never perishes. Okay, so the Lord is saying, my devotee never perishes. On the other side, he is seeing right in front of his eyes, these people are fighting. Okay, now this is very interesting, right? So this question would obviously come up saying that, hey, you know what, I don't get the logic of the Lord saying that he will protect his devotees, and here his own devotees are fighting against each other. Why? Because they are intoxicated. Why? Because it's by the desire of the Lord. Little confusing, right? So what happened? How does this situation turn up to be this way? So let's actually see that in the next shloka. The shloka is also very interesting. So we'll read the shloka again. Bhagavan swa atma maya gatim tam avalokya saha saraswatim upasprushya vriksha moolam upavesat. What does the Lord do? The personality of God, Lord Shri Krishna, after foreseeing the end of his family by his internal potency, Swa Atma Mayaya, went to the banks of river Saraswati, sipped water, and sat down underneath a tree. So here, what are we seeing? Again, Swa Atma Mayaya, by his internal potency. So everything that is happening here at this situation in the Prabhasa is happening by the will of the Lord. Okay, that part is clear. And this is happening not by the external Maya, not by the Mahamaya, but this is happening by the internal potency of the Lord, the Yoga Maya. Okay, and what is he seeing? He's seeing the foreseeing the end of his family. Okay, so what does the family mean? It's his sons, his grandsons. These are all the grandsons and sons of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who are these? As we already know, these are either the plenary expansions of the Lord, the secondary expansions of the Lord, or they are the various demigods who wanted to be part of the Lord's Leela. Correct? We have already established who all are so fortunate to be part of this dynasty. Why did the Lord end the pastime here, or make sure that everyone ended these things? We'll be discussing a lot more about these things as we read through Srimad Bhagavatam. Here again, the situation is set up that way. Okay. Now there's a very nice piece by in the end of this purport, if you see, where Jiva Goswami comments that these are not, situations that are ordinary. One should not conclude that the Yadus and the Bojas died in a drunken state in an ordinary family war, right? So they did not die, fighting against each other like what we see in modern day. Modern day, no, no. When I say modern day, I'm not even talking today. I'm talking even about 500, 600 years back. It's very common that there is a family war that happens, wherein one brother cheats another brother, the uncle cheats the king, and so on. This is pretty common, right? So even if we look at any dynasty, it could be the Mughal dynasty, for example. Aurangzeb imprisons his father, kills his own brothers too for winning over the kingdom. That's not the situation here. The situation here is we should not take these things to be ordinary from a material perspective. Like Srila Jiva Goswami comments, these incidents are incidents as magical performance. You should understand these incidents to be a little beyond what we can generally understand, little beyond what can be affected by the material situation. Okay, affected by the general Maya. Okay, in the previous verse, the word Anugnata indicating that the whole sequence of events are arranged by the Lord is significant. So everywhere, keep this as the background, saying that everything is happening here because the Lord wanted it that way. Okay, so that is, pretty important for us to understand, know, and things like that. So let's continue. So we have seen the situation, that the Bojas are fighting against each other. They are killing each other. And what does the Lord do? The Lord is the vanquisher of distresses of one who is surrendered unto him. Thus, he who desired to destroy his family told me previously to go to Badrikashrama. Now, Uddhava, who's always with the Lord. So Uddhava is an eternal associate of the Lord. He's always with the Lord. Now, everyone in the family of the Lord is being killed, is being destroyed. And Uddhava is telling this story to Vidura. Why is Uddhava not there? Very interesting, right? So again, Uddhava is telling that, look, uh, uh, everything's happening, and the Lord is telling me that you go to Badrikashma. Why would the Lord do that? What is the Lord's plan? So Uddhava actually informs the Lord's plan was executed by him because he was asked to go to Badrikashrama. The rest of the Lord's plan was to actually end the family, right? So who is there in Badrikashrama? He says Badrikashrama is where you have the devotees of Naranarayan Rishi, and in their association of devotional service, he could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and attachment. Now, I'll take a minute here, because this is a very important or a very interesting kind of a situation. Okay, firstly, why did uh, the Lord go? So there is this very nice word, prapannaharti harena. Okay, what does that word mean? It means the Lord is the vanquisher of distresses of devotees who have surrendered unto him. Okay, so here the Lord actually sending Uddhava to Badrikashrama has two important reasons. One, Uddhava could definitely not bear the separation of the Lord and his associates being killed. So the Lord knew that Uddhava would have a lot of pain, and he wanted him to go to Badrikashrama so that he doesn't actually witness this pain. Secondly, at Badrikashrama, he wanted the Lord's pastimes to be discussed among the sages. Okay, so Uddhava, who has been an associate of the Lord, who has been hearing about, who has been seeing and hearing about the Lord. We have already established this when we actually discussed this in the second chapter of third canto and earlier as well, saying that what is the glory of Uddhava, right? So right from his childhood, how he was very attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now he, when he goes to Badrikashrama, takes association of the sages and gives his association. He will remove the distresses that the sages will feel because the Lord has disappeared. Okay, who replaces the Lord? We have already established that how Srimad Bhagavatam, the Harikatha, is very, very important. Okay, here, if you see in this particular shloka, the importance of visiting a holy place is also given. Okay, when we go to a holy place, what we should do? It should increase our eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. Recently, we had this disappearance day celebration last Sunday of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually gives the importance of these four things that we have to do when we visit a holy place, when we visit a temple. Okay, very simple. We should have the darshan of the Lord, which is obviously the reason why we think we are usually going, but that is not sufficient. But that is important. We will have to take association of devotees. We should serve the devotees. Okay. Thirdly, we should hear Harikatha. Whenever we go to a holy place, we should hear about the glories of the Lord. We should hear about the pastimes of the Lord. We should hear about how we should surrender and serve the Lord. We should be hearing these things. Okay, Harikatha becomes very important. And lastly, something that all of us like, we should honor Prasadam. Now, here also it's the same thing. You go to Badrikashrama and do these four things. You chant, you hear, your knowledge improves, and you also, by what happens with all these, you associate with devotees, you hear Harikatha, you take darshan of the Lord and take prasadam. Automatically there is a certain amount of detachment that should come to us. We should not go to Vrindavan or Mayapur and come back the same way we were, right? We should have improved or increased our scale on the devotional side, and we should have reduced our attachment to certain extent. When we continuously do this, when we continuously associate with devotees, hear the Harikatha, go visit the Dham, they honor Prashadam, take the darshan of the Lord, automatically our detachment should keep coming down. And that is a measure we should have to ourselves, saying that, oh, so many times we have heard this, at old age, people will go to Kashi, Varanasi, they will leave one of their favorite items and come, one of their favorite vegetables and come, right? So it is not something that you should wait to do it at the end of your life. Once in my life, now the doctor has told me that I cannot take aloo anymore because that's going to increase my sugar levels or my BP levels. And then I go to Kashi and say, aloo was my favorite, I will leave aloo and come back. No, that's not how it is. Detachment should be progressive. Even detachment should be progressive, meaning that yesterday was attached to so many things. Today I have a improved it. Now today, when like I mentioned in the beginning, saying today is pretty auspicious day. We have the Rath Yatra happening at Jagannath Mandir. So here is our chance to do all these things, right? So we come here, take association of devotees, enjoy the kirtan, enjoy the katha, and more importantly, serve with whatever opportunity we are provided. You know, Once we serve, we become more and more humble. When we actually take that position of serving a devotee, we become very humble, serving the Lord. Our humility increases. That means our detachment is actually increasing. Okay, and then we relish the festival, so we don't start finding faults. We don't necessarily look around saying that what are the things that are going wrong, but we look around saying that, wow, this devotee is serving so nicely, wow, this Lord is so wonderfully decorated, wow, so many people are coming and taking association of the Lord, wow, here is my chance to actually serve all of them. Okay, so again, going back to the shloka, Uddhava was given this opportunity to go to Badrikashrama to remove his distress and also to remove the distress of others or the pain of others who are there. Now, you know, Lord Krishna, just to continue, when the what's the purpose of Lord Krishna's descent? His descent what to remove the burden, right? So we see in Bhagavad Gita, right? So the Lord comes to actually protect the devotees and remove the in people who are against the devotees. Now, once that work of the Lord was done, when he was in Dwarka, the war of Kurukshetra is done, Kamsa is removed, Shishupal, Dantavakra removed. Lord kind of is like completed his Leela to a larger extent. And this is when all the demigods headed by Brahmaji, they actually visit Dwaraka. They come to Dwaraka, they inform the Lord that, my dear Lord, your time of disappearance has come, as we have heard. So please let us know if there is something that we can serve you. No, very humbly they come and ask. Now Uddhava immediately realized, okay, the Lord is going to end his pastimes. He rushes to the Lord because he's always with the Lord. He goes to the Lord and says, my dear Lord, I know you're finishing your pastime. Please take me along with you to the spiritual world. Okay. When Uddhava actually told this, the Lord replied back very, very philosophically to Uddhava. There's a long section of Uddhava's discussion with the Lord or the Lord's instructions to Uddhava. All of us know Srimad Bhagavatam has many, many Gitas in it. Bhagavad Gita in Mahabharata is just one Gita where the Bhagwan is speaking. When we come to Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll see there is Gopi Geet, there is Venu Geet, there is Kunti Devi's prayers, there's Bhishma Dev praying something. Though there are a lot of prayers that keep happening. And one of the most important things when for devotees who have finished only 10 cantos and relished the pastimes of the Lord, go read the 11th canto where we have this Uddhava Gita, the final instructions uh, to Uddhava, and that concluded why Uddhava should go to Badrikashrama. That entire details are there in the 11th canto, the 10th canto where Lord Krishna's pastimes end, and 11th canto where Uddhava is telling that I heard all these philosophical knowledge from the Lord. So someday I'm hoping all of us will gather together discussing on this as we go on to the 11th canto of Bhagavatam. Today we are in the third canto, not very far. The rate at which we are going, we should be able to cover it within next few years. So before that, if you have time, we should definitely go there. So this was one of the important reasons or details that are given in this shloka as well. So just connecting back to the different pieces that are there, this shloka 4 is pretty important. It's very small but very nice and important shloka. Okay, let's continue. Shloka 5. Yet, in spite of my knowing his desire to destroy the dynasty, O Arindama, Vidura, I followed him because it was impossible for me to bear separation from the lotus feet of the master. So Vidura says, you know what, my master told me to go to Badrikashrama. I did go to Badrikashrama, but immediately I came back. I followed the Lord because I couldn't stay away from him for much longer. Okay. Here the word Arindama is used. Arindama is also very important word, right? So what does Arindama mean? Arindama means a man who has won all his enemies. Ari means enemy, right? So a person who's got no more enemies or who destroyed all his enemies is Vidura. So how many of you know all the wars that Vidura has been part of? Rarely we know, right? So in this case, it's very interesting to note that Vidura does not have any enemies. He's won over, conquered all his enemies. So this actually comes in many places. So this is my understanding. It's not from the purpose of Srila Prabhupada or any commentary, but I've heard from some senior Vaishnavas. But this is my understanding. So I'll put it forward. But this word of Arindama is also very important. If you look at Mahabharat, Shatrughna, the fourth brother of the four brothers, right? So Shatrughna means the person who doesn't have any shatrus or destroyed all his shatrus. And if you read the entire Ramayana, you will see that there was only one demon, Lavanasura, if I'm right, the salt demon, right? So he's the only one who Shatrughna defeated. He fought and defeated. Now here is Lord Ram defeating so many people, including Ravana, and all the big demons. But why is Shatrughna so famous? Similarly, here, why is Vidura? How did he defeat all his enemies? No, what is our biggest enemy? Our biggest enemy is our pride. Correct. So Vidura was so humble that his pride was something that he conquered over. was very humble. So no one wants to fight against a person who is, very humble. If someone comes and argues with us, we immediately argue back. That's where the friction takes place. That's where the enmity develops. That's where, I want to prove I'm better than that person. I take my collar up and show myself off. All these things happen. When you become humble, there is no mood to fight. The enemy is not going to feel like I should fight against you, right? So automatically that happens. So Vidura in this case is shown as a person who is won over his ahankar, won over his pride, and that makes it easy. Now, why did I come to this calling of this pride or proud being very difficult to control, right? So any of your anarthas, your kama, krodha, moha, lobha, mada, matsarya, when we talk about these anarthas, any of your anarthas, when you win over them, you know you're progressing towards the mode of goodness. Okay, I am able to control the desire for kama, lust, or I'm able to control my anger, krodha, right? So the, there was a situation where, very difficult for me. Earlier I would have fought against this person saying that, how could you do this? I would show all the anger. But this time something like that happened. I was like, it's okay. Typically this happens when we drive in Bangalore traffic. The person in front of us in the signal, when the light is green, he's turned off his vehicle and sitting and chatting on his mobile phone. That there, I need to cross this, I need to go to office, I need to go to some other service or whatever is there, but this person is not there, and you really get angry. So how do you show your anger? Press on the honk, pom pom pom, right? So anger. And the next time I'm waiting for this person to move, I just honk once and wait. I just put a signal and take to a right or a left and cross over. I was able to control my anger. At home, Mataji is so nicely cooking, and suddenly there is something with the prashadam, a little salt extra or less, you actually complain. The next time, you know what? Food is very nice. Little salt, if it was there, it would have been better, but it was very nice. You become happy because you were able to control over that situation. Okay. What happens? There's one situation which is very difficult to control. That is your pride. Again, coming back to this point, saying that as soon as you win over any other anartha, you become happy, you become proud. And the best thing they say, you become very humble. That means you win over pride. As soon as you win over pride, you immediately become proud that I was able to control my pride. Pride is that good. As soon as you take this pride and throw it out, another pride sprouts and saying that you were able to control that pride. That is the power of pride. And that's why, as devotees, we should become more and more humble. And that's what we saw just recently, saying that when you actually serve another devotee, your humility increases, your pride, your ahankar is actually well controlled. Okay, that's the significance of this word according to whatever is my understanding. So I thought I should share it with everyone. Okay, so anyway, Vidura, here Uddhava is now following the Lord. Thus following, I saw my pattern and master Lord Shri Krishna sitting alone and deeply thinking, taking shelter on the bank of river Saraswati. Although he is the shelter of the goddesses of fortune. He is Sriniketa, Shri is Lakshmi Devi, goddesses of fortune, and goddess of fortune is the one who is taking shelter of him. This particular Lord, who is a shelter of everyone, is now taking shelter. So the Lord is sitting under a tree while his entire family is being destroyed by his will. And by his will, we'll keep remembering that even if it's not mentioned. And now Uddhava is seeing the Lord, he's sitting there. Again, for devotees who have been to this place of Prabhasa Kshetra, this shloka and the next shloka will actually talk about it. So let me cover it in the next shloka itself. So here the Lord is taking shelter of a tree. He's just reclining there. And here, I mean, in the purport as well, in the shloka as well, say, the person who is the shelter of everything shakes shelter of him. Suddenly he looks very, you know, very silent. He's gone there and taken shelter. Okay. Now, if you look at it, the Lord likes to actually take this position of someone else being his shelter, right? So if you look at the Leela of the Lord pre coming out of Vrindavan, right? So all the leelas of Raj, you will see the Lord somehow or other is actually becoming very submissive uh, to someone he thinks should be controlling him, like Mother Yashoda, right? So Lord is actually taking shelter of Mother Yashoda. He comes and hides there. He comes and tells Mother, I'm hungry, or Mother Yashoda, if I don't feed this boy is going to struggle. The Lord likes to take these kind of positions with his very intimate devotees, and that shelter he's taking here in the tree. He's just lying down on the tree. There's nothing astonishing in him taking shelter in this way of the unsheltered who is the renounced order. So as devotees, we should always take shelter. That's what it says. When you are in the renounced order of life, you will actually take shelter underneath the tree. That's what Srila Prabhupada says here. All the Goswamis, if you look at them, if you look at Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, what was their position? Materially, they were so popular, so rich and everything, and they were also well learned. And then what did they do when they were asked to go explore the places of Raj? They actually stayed in different trees each night, not more than 3 nights they would stay in a particular under a particular tree, because they should not get attached to that tree as well. So taking shelter under a tree, and tree itself is so glorious that it actually gives us shelter. So how was the Lord looking there? In the tree when he was taking shelter, how is Uddhava looking at the Lord? The Lord's body is blackish, but is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and very, very beautiful. His eyes are always peaceful, and they are reddish like the rising morning sun. I could immediately recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his four hands, different symbolic representations, and yellow silk garments. So we are here at Prabhasa. There's this big banyan tree. The Lord is reclining there. And what is Uddhava seeing? The Pitambara, the yellow silk dress that the Lord is wearing. And the Lord has got four hands. Now, for devotees who have passed through this previous chapters, the Lord is coming from Vrindavan to Mathura to Dwarka. But the moment he's reached Dwarka, now he's exhibiting his four-handed form in many, many places. Right? So the Lord is the king there. The Lord is no more the Vrajvasi from his external appearance. And this is what Uddhava is saying. The moment he sees, he understands that he is the supreme. I could recognize him as the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, for devotees who have been to this Prabhasa Kshetra, you should definitely go have darshan. When you're going to Somnath uh, to have darshan of Lord Shiva, you should actually come here. The Lord is very, very beautiful there in the Prabhasa. He's in the reclining position, lying under a tree. And what does he do? He puts one leg on top of another. We'll actually see that in the next shloka, right? So the Lord was sitting, taking rest against a young banyan tree with his right lotus foot on his left thigh. And although he had left all household comforts, he looked quite cheerful in that posture. There are many, many pieces in the shloka as well to discuss. If you just look at it, so the Lord is putting one leg on top of another. You can have a look at. You can in fact Google for this photo of Prabhasa Kshetra. Okay, so he's got, and we know how the Lord's pastime ends. So obviously the leg has to be on top of one another so that his toe is visible for the hunter to shoot. Right, so that happens a little later. Anyways, so he's renounced everything. He's seeing his family being killed there, right there. And then he's reclining against an young banyan tree. Despite all this, he's looking very cheerful. Now, if you look at all the opulences of the Lord, the six opulences of the Lord, we talk about the sixth opulence being completely renounced. And we always give the example of how the Lord left the wonderful situation of rich and came out of it. And that is his power of renunciation. Here also he sees his entire family being destroyed right in front of his eyes by his will, and then he looks pretty cheerful at it. And that's what Uddhava is saying. The Lord is not you know sluggish when he's sitting there in the banyan tree. He's not bored. He's not like, array, this happened to my family, array. He's not looking in. He's looking quite cheerful. Okay, and now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, actually he's talking about this position pretty nicely. He says, how should we understand? Why is this mentioned? that the Lord is resting against a young banyan tree is mentioned. Ashwatha means a banyan tree. Ashwath many of us know the place around the banyan tree where all these panchayat used to happen olden days. Today, very few of these are left in the city. At least you have to go around. Earlier, there used to be quite a few in Bangalore, the Bangalore that I know of. So, anyways, so this Ashwatha tree, the young banyan tree, the glory of a banyan tree is that the tree by itself never dies. Correct. So there are so many roots that come out of this tree, making other trees to come. Okay, till someone actually chops off, obviously. So here, the way it is mentioned by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is, look, the Lord is reclined against a tree. He's saying that, look, the entire the banyan, the association, the Lord had so many wives, all of us know, 16108, and each of them had 10 sons and a daughter, so 11 children, and then they all had grandsons, grandchildren. So I mean, they all had their children, so lots of grandchildren. So it was not a small family; it's a huge, huge family. Like how a banyan tree grows, and despite all this, the Lord has decided, okay, let's end this. Okay, and this particular piece here in the shloka, it's talked about Tyaktva Pipalam, right? So this also indicates that he is now planning to finish his pastime in this particular small universe. Okay, so I mean, the Lord's pastimes are going on eternally, and this is very, very small universe. And in this one, he's come for a small piece of time. Few shlokas back, we saw why the Lord is ending his pastime, because he's done what a Leela he had to do, and all the demigods and Brahmaji all are coming and saying that, Lord, now we will take over. Because as long as the Lord is there, their day-to-day duties are all affected according to them, right? So that is also there. So the Lord has decided, and it's a very small pastime that he is planning to end, and he will move on to a next place. Like just as the sun rises on one particular planet and sets in another simultaneously, but does not change its own situation. So the Lord's situation has not changed. He's very blissful. He's lying there, and he will continue his pastime, if not in this universe, in some other universe. Like the sun never sets, right? So for you or for me, the sun is raised a few hours back here in India. But at the same time, if you're not in India, the sun is either somewhere in the noon, or if you're in another country like the Japan or the Singapore or whatever it is, the sun is it's pretty much daytime. And if you're in another place across the world, you will actually see the sun is either setting or it's night. So the Lord's pastime are like that. It's prakat and aprakat in its own situation. So today we are not able to see it. In another universe, the Lord's pastime is actively happening, while we can also see it here. Okay, let's move on. So the Lord is relaxed, otherwise come, he's in the Lord. So what next? Okay, at that time, after traveling in many parts of the world, Maitreya, a great devotee of the Lord and a friend and a well-wisher of the great sage Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, reached that spot out of his own perfect accord. Okay, so Maitreya Muni, firstly, who is Maitreya Muni? Maitreya Muni is the disciple of Parasar Muni, right? So Parasar Muni is obviously the father of Vyasadeva. We know Parasar Muni's glories. We have heard this through the Bhishma Dev story and all those stories, right? So Parasar Muni is here. He and also Maitreya Muni happens to be a very dear friend of Vyasadeva, because he's a disciple of Parasara, and he's also the contemporary of Vyasadeva in that sense. And here, a few nice things are mentioned. One, you can see the word a great devotee of the Lord and a friend and well-wisher of Vyasa is mentioned, right? So he's said to be a great devotee of the Lord. But if you look a little further down, even the purport, and if you go further a little down, you will actually see that Maitreya Muni was a great sage and a great learned scholar, but he was not a pure devotee of the Lord. He understood all the situations. He understood about all the pastimes and all the philosophical aspects. But he wasn't in the situation of a pure devotee. Why is this mentioned? It will also come a little further as well. But why is Maitreya Muni reached this place? Okay, by some fortunate accident, Maitreya reached this place. Okay, it's not an ordinary incident as it is mentioned here, right? So to meet the Lord is not an ordinary incident. To get darshan of the Lord in the morning of Rath Yatra is also not ordinary. So today, I mean, I'm hoping all of you are here doing some service, because to get association of the Lord, to get darshan of the Lord is not an ordinary situation. Here for Maitreya Muni, it is said that it is because of his Agnata Sukruti. Okay. Now, Sukriti is the combination of all the pious activities that you do, right? Kriti is activity and Sukriti is pious activity. When you do pious activity, you get pious results for it. Okay? When some things happen to you which is beyond your Sukriti, that means there is some unknown reason that's come in, that is called Agnata Sukriti. Okay. In simple terms, I mean, if we look back, most of us could relate to it. I can definitely relate to it. Definitely not my qualification that I somehow came and landed up in Srila Prabhupada's movement, in this Krishna consciousness movement. Okay. There is some reason far beyond whatever is my pious credit. They're far beyond whatever would have been my credibility. So if we look at it ourselves, right, each individually we actually look at it ourselves, we would know that there was this mercy of a wonderful devotee that would have come through. Okay, either through a book distribution, either through prashadam distribution, either I visited accidentally to a temple and then someone preached to me very nicely, or there was a session that was happening at office, or any pandal program and I attended and I gave my contact number, something which was not planned, unknown. And somewhere I would have told thank you to someone. I would have just put some prashadam, some donation, something I have done. And that one has affected me. And that is called Agnata Sukriti. Agnata Sukriti is something wherein it's not generally come out of my known reasons, my known causes. Okay, it's not come out of my own causes. So, anyways, so the way we should also look at Agnata Sukriti is that many a times we talk about people being so unfortunate in this material world. In fact, I was looking at one of Srila Prabhupada's quotes. He, in a place where he mentions 99% or more than 99% of people are so unfortunate that they know nothing about God. Now, here is our opportunity when we can go and serve someone else, saying that, okay, can you please take this book? Can you please take this prasadam? Can you please donate something in this hundi? Can you please donate something for this festival? You know, more, when we actually do that, and they likingly, unlikingly, they take that prasadam or they put that money or whatever it is, their spiritual life is starting. Their devotional life is starting. Okay. They know it, they don't know it, they like it, they don't like it automatically happens. Okay. So that is very important or very interesting to know as well. Okay. So we should also be that instrument, saying that somehow or other I should be spreading this glory of the Lord. What better day than today, where we don't have to, invite people to the temple. The Lord is coming out on his Ratha, in Puri. We were looking at the photos recently. I mean, if any of you could see the floor, the land in the main Grand Trunk Road of Puri, just let me know, because all we could see is head of people among the rathas, right? So many people are there. So many people are blessed by the Lord. The same situation. There's so many people who will come. Here is our opportunity to serve them very nicely for the pleasure of the Lord, which makes us closer to the Lord. So Maitreya Muni got this association of the Lord. He said that it's not an ordinary thing. So to meet the Lord, it's not an ordinary incident. And here, so many devotees are getting this association of the Lord. It's not an ordinary thing. And if he could be an instrument there, then we get more mercy of the Lord. And we are not doing it for more mercy of the Lord. We are just doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. Okay, let's continue. We have established who was Maitreya Muni. We'll continue to see why he came and what happened post that. Maitreya Muni was greatly attached to him, the Lord, and he was listening in a pleasing attitude with his shoulder lowered, with a smile and a particular glance upon me. Uddhava is mentioning, having allowed me to rest. The Lord spoke as follows. So here, in the puppet, there are a couple of things that I mentioned. So one thing is knowing who is the bhakta, right? Who's the bhakta? What is his qualification? So if you look at Maitreya Muni, he liked the Lord. He's very dear to the Lord. But also you can see how submissively, or what is the mood and his bodily position when he's actually hearing from an authority, right? So if you can see that uh, very pleasing attitude when we are listening, when we are hearing Harikatha, we should have this pleasing attitude. Even when, many times we actually, when do we hear Srila Prabhupada's lectures, or when we hear Guru Maharaj classes, we play it on video. We are anyway off video. We play it on YouTube, or we are playing it on Zoom, or whatever it is. We are doing our work, either cooking for Matajis, or Prabhujis are, ironing their clothes, or having their shave, or whatever it is. Prabhupada lecture is running. But you should have that attitude where you are, eagerly listening, actively listening to that. It's not that, okay, my 30 minutes of sadhana or 45 minutes of sadhana of hearing is happening. So that is playing. I'm doing everything else other than actively hearing. That should not, that should not also happen. We should be very actively listening to what is being mentioned in the Harikatha. So you can see how the Lord is going to speak. Now, Maitreya Muni's body language, very nicely. Um, and here, the second part, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, is Lord is actually addressing Uddhava. He's talking to both of them. Maitreya Muni and Uddhava both are there. And Maitreya Muni, if you see here, he's actually having a very pleasing smile and glance on Uddhava, right? So Uddhava is much younger in age to Maitreya Muni. So he's showing that affectionate look onto Uddhava. But what is the Lord doing? The Lord is actually focusing on Uddhava while he's addressing both of them. Okay, why? Maitreya Muni at this point, while the Lord is speaking, is a Jnana Bhakta, or is a Jnani. Okay, and the Lord likes his devotees more. We all know that, right? So if you are a devotee of the Lord shows you extra care, extra mercy. Okay, and obviously we know that shloka where it says ye tamam prapadyante tam tateva bhajamyam, right? So in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, so the Lord reciprocates accordingly. Here there's a jnani and there is a pure devotee. The Lord is going to reciprocate with the pure devotee a little more. So that's about the shloka 10. So we will see shloka 11 where the Lord is speaking. So he's addressing Uddhava, like I said. So he's saying, "O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desired in the days of yore, when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs performed sacrifices. You particularly desired to achieve my association. This is very difficult for others to obtain, but I award it unto you." So who is Uddhava? Uddhava's glory is being mentioned. So Uddhava is mentioning his glory through the words of the Lord. Right. So he's not telling I'm great. He's telling, Lord looked at me this way, right? So of the eight Vasus, Uddhava is one of them. Uddhava is the eternal associate, the Nitya Siddha of the Lord. So the plenary portion or the expansion of Uddhava is are the eight Vasus. Okay, and obviously Nitya Siddha or the eternal associate of the Lord is always with the Lord. Here, Uddhava is revealed as the sadhana siddha. If you look at it, saying that, what, Uddhava, I actually look at you this way. You did all this, you performed all the sacrifices because you had a particular desire and you actually did it with the association of the demigods. That means you did all your sadhana for obtaining me, right? So here, I'm talking about two different things, right? So one, Uddhava being the Nitya Siddha or the eternal associate of the Lord, and the Lord also mentioning that, look, you are achieving this through your sadhana. Okay, here the Lord wants to, protect the confidentiality of his pastimes with Uddhava. Okay, the Lord is indicating to Maitreya the importance of Lord's association that comes only to pure devotees of the Lord. Okay, very important point, right? So you understand the Lord is recognizing Uddhava, saying that, look, you did all this sadhana, you got my association which you desired. It's not so easy to get, and he's telling Uddhava this so that devotees like Maitreya Muni can understand that, okay, it's not only about jnana, it's also about the mercy of the Lord that comes because the Lord's association is very, 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 very rare. Okay, again going back to the show, "Ye yatamam prapadyante," you want the Lord, you want the information about the Lord, you want to serve the Lord, you want to know about the Lord. Okay, how is the creation done? How are the planets moving around each other? How is light working? How is air working? How can I control the panchabhutas? How can I get all the siddhis that I can get? This is what the jnanis look for, and these are some of the things. So who is the Paramatma, and why is how can I increase my lifespan? What can I do to get use my siddhis in the right way and all that? So it's not wrong. This is also in some form you know going towards spiritual. But look at Uddhava's position. Uddhava didn't have to do all this. Okay, Uddhava is serving the Lord right from his childhood. That is the glory of Uddhava. Okay, and the Lord mentioning that, look, I know what is in your heart. That's also he's mentioning, I know what is within your mind, within your heart. So if you look at, again, going back to Bhagavad Gita, we look at Sarvasya cha Hridi Sannivishtam Matta Smriti Jnanam Apohanam cha, right? 15th chapter 15.15. So Lord says, I am in everyone's heart, and from me comes knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. So whatever we remember, whatever we forget, and whatever knowledge we have, everything is coming from the Lord. Okay, and jnana itself is not sufficient. So as Paramatma, he knows everything that is there in my heart. So these two shlokas are actually mentioned not by me, but by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, right? So Srila Prabhupada actually calls this out. So what's our simple take on it? So Lord is within our heart as Paramatma. He absolutely understands our mood. He's seeing us right from inside. Now there is no way we can cheat the Lord. When we have material desires, when we are doing activities that are not progressive to spiritual life, not conducive to spiritual life, not for the pleasure of the Lord, when we do things even in the name of service, we do things that are actually increasing my glory, my ahankar, for for others to recognize me. When I'm doing these kind of activities, even though externally I'm pretending to be a devotee, or externally I'm trying to be a devotee, the Lord perfectly understands us from inside out. Okay, not only the Lord, but even our spiritual master, our Guru Maharaj, they actually, when you take blessings, you're sitting in front of them, they can see right through us. They can see all the garbage within us, and they tell, "You're a very nice devotee. Continue your service." It's not something that I should be proud of saying that, oh, you know what, my Guru Maharaj said, I'm very nice devotee. It means that my Guru Maharaj is saying that I can be a very good devotee as well. I should continue my service. Even if I'm pretending to do my service, let me continue to do my service more and more sincerely. Okay, that's how it should be, right? So inside we are garbage. That's okay. I'm pretending outside. It's okay. The Lord can see me from inside. The spiritual master can see me from inside out. Senior Vaishnavas can see me from inside out. They are all blessing me, saying that, look, you have what it takes to become pure devotees of the Lord. This is an instruction that we should take and we should continue. Okay, so Maitreya Muni is also a wonderful devotee, right? So he's in the Jnani pose. He doesn't have, we're not talking about the anarthas and all the sins like us, but even from his Jnani position, he has to come to a position of a Bhakta, and it's not very difficult. Okay, we have a few more shlokas that we'll try to cover. Oh, honest one, the Lord, sorry. Oh, honest one, your present life is the last and the supermost, because in this term of life, you have been awarded my ultimate favor. Now you can go to my transcendental abode Vaikuntha by living this universe of the conditioned living entities. Your visit to me in this lonely place, because of your pure and unflinching devotional service, is a great boon for you. So the Lord is telling Uddhava, look, you have come here not accidentally, but the coming here itself is a big boon to you, because he's telling, this is your last life. No, imagine you're getting this direct blessing of the Lord, right? So the Lord is actually telling, this is your last life. From here, you get back to me. Such a wonderful situation, right? So that is what the Lord is promising, saying that here, you know, uh, because you have been awarded this ultimate favor. Okay, so you will get to my transcendental abode Vaikuntha. Now Uddhava's purpose is not fully fully complete. So we all know background of it, right? So Uddhava was asked to go to Badrikashama. He was asked to take care of the princesses or the people in the Dwaraka region when the Lord took everyone and left. So the whole planning is done, and there is this promise that Uddhava will go back. The previous time when we actually discussed this past time of Uddhava, we actually mentioned how Uddhava in our own Govardhan Leela, I remember not Leela, the Parikrama, we are talking about it where we have the Uddhava Kund and where we have Kusun Sarovar, where Uddhava says somehow or other, after hearing from the beautiful the Vrajvasis, the gopis of Vraj, I just wish I've become the grass in this place so that I'm trampled. I get the association of the wonderful lotus feet of the pure devotees of the Lord. That is Uddhava's mode. And here Uddhava is actually hearing from the Lord that, look, this is your last, you come back to my abode. So the Lord continues, O Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the great sages describe as Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, Surayo Bhagavatam Vadanti, right? So all the suras, all the great wonderful people, suras, right? So those suras, they are this they call it as Bhagavatam. So Canto 1, going back to Canto 1, Brahmaji, Teni Brahma Hridaya Adikavi. The Adikavi actually speaks in the heart of Lord Brahma. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam, he gives this entire transcendental glory of the Lord. So this is already spoken to Lord Brahma in the beginning. Okay, Uddhava then said. So here the Lord actually concludes saying that, look, this Srimad Bhagavatam is so glorious. It's actually going to talk about the pastimes of the Lord, and it's not meant for people who are going to be impersonally thinking, because you cannot talk about the leelas of the Lord if you're looking at from an impersonal angle. Even Sripad Shankaracharya doesn't touch Srimad Bhagavatam. Vedas, Vedanta, Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, all this is fine. Philosophically, do whatever you want, but personal association of the Lord is not easy. And here, I think, with the blessings of, with the mercy of so many wonderful devotees who organized this, we are getting to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Uh, Almost every day we have an opportunity. We should definitely take advantage of it. And every weekend we actually run through this, and it's very simple. This is just to give us a flavor of what's there in Srimad Bhagavatam, but we should be inspired from inside, saying that I should read Srimad Bhagavatam every day. We pray Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nitya, we should serve to Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Should open, read Srimad Bhagavatam, hear about from Srimad Bhagavatam, and serve the Bhagavatas. Okay, so Uddhava, now the Lord is finished. He's addressed Uddhava. So Uddhava is now saying, O Vidura, when I was thus favored at every moment by the Supreme Personality of God and addressed by him with great affection, my words failed in tears, and the hairs on my body erupted. After sparing my tears with folded hands, I spoke like this, right? So, I mean, obviously, imagine the Lord is saying that this is your last life. You have done wonderful service, come back with me. So obviously, how will he feel? So Uddhava is saying, oh my Lord. So here, I think we'll conclude with these three prayers of Uddhava 15, 16, 17, 18. I think 3 or 4 shlokas, wonderfully acknowledging the Lord. Next class, I think the glories will continue. So make sure you are there. O my Lord, devotees who engage in the transcendental loving service of your lotus feet have no difficulty in achieving anything within the realm of the 4 principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. But, O great one, as far as I am concerned, I have preferred only to engage in loving service of your lotus feet. Uddhava is now establishing why he is awarded something which is not coming through a normal process of jnani, right? So people look at these 4 purusharthas, right? So dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is what is religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. We are behind this and we achieve moksha, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, liberation. But not that, but serving the Lord, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, engaging in personal association of the Lord through bhakti, you achieve something much, much higher. Srila Prabhupada in the purport talks about the different muktis, different kinds of liberation, and Brahmajyoti is something that is achievable for a Paramatmavadi or a Jnani or whoever it is, but for a pure devotee, they go to the Vaikuntha Loka, and that is what Uddhava is actually talking about here. Okay, Uddhava is refusing all other facility. Even devotees, even when they are given an opportunity to get liberation, go back to Brahmajyoti or even to the Vaikuntha Lokas, they are like, do I have enough service there, or can I continue my service here? Right. So the end objective is, put me wherever you want, my dear Lord. Please engage me in your service. That's what we do every day in the morning when we take out our Japamala and we are doing our Hare Krishna chanting. We are not telling the Lord, give me liberation, give me economic development. Okay. We are praying to the Lord, somehow or other, keep me in your service. And that prayer should be sincere. The fundamental qualification of the success of the prayer is that prayer should be sincere, saying, please engage me in your service, please engage me in your service. When I request the Lord for something like that, please engage me in your service, I'm not worried about what is the service I'm getting. I'm not worried if I'm going to get a service where I will get a garland, or I'm I'm not worried where I have to take care of the chapel stand. Every service is the same. I'm cooking for the Lord, I'm cutting vegetables for the Lord, I'm serving the devotees, prasadam. I'm sitting there and hearing a Harikatha, I'm sitting there and giving a Harikatha, I'm trying to serve the wonderful Vaishnavas who are there, somehow or other, always simply engage in service. Don't discriminate on the service that you're getting. Never feel that one service is better than the other service, because the moment you start distinguishing the quality of a service, that's the moment you start getting away from the Lord, because every service is the same. Krishna takes up the service of, chapel stand, right, during the Rajasuya Yagna. Not very easy position. I was hearing yesterday from Kripame Gaurang Prabhu about how when there was inauguration of a temple, there was so many sannyasis. So one of the services that His Grace, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj took was welcoming of the guest, in the counter. So he was sitting there, please come in. There was a temple inauguration. He takes up that humble service. There was so many wonderful sannyasis. So some sannyasis giving a class, some sannyasis doing kirtan, some sannyasis taking care of arrangement of prasadam and so on. And he takes up such a humble service. No, such a senior Vaishnava, Srila Prabhupada disciple. He is sitting there and welcoming people, saying that, okay, please leave your chappals there, please put on your tilak if it's not there, please welcome, go to the right where prasadam is served, go to the left where you can actually have a seat in the class, or go there, have darshan. He's sitting there in the counter, not an easy service. And that teaches us what kind of humility we should have, right? So again, going back to our pride and humility, it's not easy. I mean, we can keep hearing about it. I know I'm talking about it. It's very difficult. I'm not humble. I have the anarthas, but the prayer is, when I'm talking about this, I'm just praying to all the Vaishnavas here, saying, please bless me that I get the qualities that are being described in Srimad Bhagavatam. The qualification is not there to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. It's just that it's the parampara, it's the service that's been given. So we speak about it, but the qualities that are being spoken, it's a blessing from each of the hearer that actually comes through. So please continue to bless. We'll continue last couple of shlokas. We'll wrap up with this. My Lord, even the learned sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see that your greatness engages in fruitive work, although you are free from all desires, that you take birth, although you are unborn, that you flee out of fear of the enemy and take shelter in a fort, although you are the controller of invincible time, and that you enjoy householder life surrounded by many women, although you are enjoy in yourself. Your Atma Rama, you are the controller of everything, you're omniscient, omnipresent, and still you do these activities which actually, uh, for a mundane person, he thinks that, oh, what, is this the Supreme Lord? Right? Even people like Brahmaji is bewildered. What about ordinary people? Right? So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, going back again, saying that avachananti mamura, right? So it's not easy for a Muda to understand the Lord. Manusham tanamash. So the Lord is coming as a normal human being, normal human being. That's what people take. Okay, how can the unborn be born? Why is he running away? Ranchorji, and suddenly he runs away from battlefield, and there is a temple of Ranchorji that is there. Okay, so it's not easy for people to understand. The purport is wonderful. I would request devotees to go back and read the purport. Otherwise, continuing, my dear Lord, oh my Lord, your eternal self is never divided by the influence of time, and there is no limitation of your perfect knowledge. Thus, you very sufficiently able to consult with yourself, yet you called upon me for consultation as if bewildered, although you are never bewildered, and this act of yours bewilders me. So this is very nice. So Uddhava is saying, boss, you know everything. And what was my role in your kingdom in Dwarka? I was the consultant for you. And you would come and tell me, oh, Uddhava, can I actually do this? And Uddhava would tell, Shastrically, you're not supposed to do this. If you do this, this person there would be hurt. Your grandfather will not be happy. That sages might be affected, or the Brahmanas will not like it. Whenever Krishna comes, Uddhava will give all this. And Uddhava is saying that you asked me all this. I used to tell you all this as if I knew. And that itself is bewildering because I know you are the source of everything. Okay. So, my Lord, kindly explain to us if you think if you think us competent to receive it, that transcendental knowledge which gives enlightenment about yourself and which you explained before to Brahmaji. So Uddhava is now ending his prayer. There's one more in the next shloka. I think I'll leave it to the next speaker. So here Uddhava is saying, please explain Srimad Bhagavatam to us. We would like to hear. In a couple of minutes, just wrapping up, saying that Uddhava is asking the Lord, he's telling this to Vidura, who is being told that he is going around trying to hear this, you know, by Suta Goswami, who is telling this to the sages of Naimisharanya, saying how Sukadev Goswami explained this to Parikshit Maharaj. Interconnections, right from there, Suta Goswami at Naimisharanya is coming. So what is being spoken by Sukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj? Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the Srimad Bhagavatam we are going to hear here. What the Lord is going to speak, what Maitreya is going to hear, and Maitreya is going to speak to Vidura in the coming chapter. So we will stop here. Thank you so much for joining. Anyone has any comments, any questions? Wonderful, chapter. So I just rushed through it. So I'll pause here. Anyone has anything to comment, please go ahead. Okay, participants can now unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Dandavat Pranam.
Yes,
Hare
thank
Krishna
you all for
Prabhuji,
joining.
Dandavat
Hope
Pranam.
to see some of you or all of you in the evening today. Thank you, Shri Hari Prabhu. I'm sure you have your services. Do you have any announcement?
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead. Rathayatra, you are about to announce. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you Prabhuji.
Yes, wonderful opportunity. We have the Rath Yatra, so we are inviting all devotees to please be here today. Do not miss out this opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity to serve the Lord. I've been trying to tell through the class another day. If you're not here, if you want to serve in some other way, we obviously have the donation links and the different sevas that you can be part of. So please go ahead, take up some service, which is the whole purpose of hearing Bhagavatam and reading, chanting early in the morning. So hopefully all of us have done that. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. We'll have the darshan in a few minutes. Yes, Prabhu.
This quick question. Like, there are some people who are new here, who want to come for Rath Yatra for the first time. So, what kind of services that they can take up and whom they can contact?
Prabhu, they can contact us in the temple office room. We'll be there. There'll be Rakha Krishna Prabhu, there'll be Kripami Gaurang Prabhu, myself. We'll all be there in the office room. So anytime after 12:30, they can come. Firstly, depends on Prabhuji's or Mataji's what kind of service they want to do. There is continuous kirtan that will keep happening. There is katha that's happening right now. Where Krishna Prabhu is giving. I want to rush there to hear the katha, and also on the Rath Yatra, and also there is going to be Darshanarti right now. The Navakalevaram. I mean, we are going to see Jagannath in a few minutes, so that's there. There is prasadam cutting service, cooking service, prasadam distribution service. There's going to be public prasadam outside. We are going to have chief guest. We'll probably announce in some time once we get confirmation. Some of the ministers of the current Bangalore registration. So those people are going to be there. So taking care of these people, participate in the kirtan and hear the katha, chant more. So come over. You have enough services to do.
Sanatana Prabhu.
Yes,
Dinesh
yes, Prabhu.
Dinesh Gundurao PA called me night 9:30. He's confirmed he's coming.
Oh,
Ajay's
Hari
wife
Bol.
is coming. Ajay's wife is coming. I think DK will get confirmation after some time. Actually, that's the two
Yes.
confirmations.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So Anukul Prabhu just mentioned. So we have Dinesh and we have Ajay, both these ministers, Mr. Dinesh and Mr. Ajay. They are coming for sure. And we have DK Shivkumar who is invited. He will get a confirmation by afternoon today. So we have a lot of good people. So someone is asking, can we hear the katha online? This was a katha online. The other kathas might happen. We'll focus more on the darshan and the panihati services through the video. You may not hear the entire katha because there are a lot of activities that will keep happening parallelly. So afternoon katha will be by Anant Vallabh Prabhu. We'll not have an online showcase of it. But come over, every devotee, please come over, attend the programs. You will have a live Zoom that will be starting in some time later during the Pahandi service. Please do join us online if you're not able to come in person. Okay, all the announcements will keep happening in the group. If you're not part of the temple group, reach out to Sri Hari Prabhu. Sri Hari Prabhu, please add them to the temple groups so that they can see all the announcements that are happening there.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Okay. We'll wind up now. We'll go have darshan of the Lord. We'll see if there is a Zoom. I'll pass that message over in the groups. Okay, thank you everyone for attending. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.